So there are several moments in life where we take a moment to look back and reflect on where we've been, what we've done. We reflect on our actions and their consequences. And it's in that reflection that we start to be able to get clearer about what's working for us and what's working against us. It often takes years of reflection to convince ourselves of how to proceed and move forward in life because we notice the decisions that made a major impact on our life, and we're able to evaluate whether the decisions we made actually resulted in the outcome that we wanted. And in that evaluation, then we start to think about, well, how might we have done things differently to create more of what we want? And when we start to implement that, when we put it into our lives, when we put it into action, then that's how we evolve, get better. We learn the lessons. We start improving our quality of life because we're getting smarter, frankly, about how we're choosing to live. It's like thinking about the first relationships we got into and how maybe we didn't know exactly what we wanted in a partner, in a friend, in a companion. And then we start figuring out over time, like, well, what's really working for me? What do I want to invite into my space and into my life? And what things am I willing to be okay with dealing with, compromising, sacrificing? And what things are just hard, non-negotiable things that I'm not willing to waver on. So just starting to think about how important every single decision we make actually is. That every thought we think, every word we speak, it's energy. Every single thought is energy that we invest our energy into, and we put that energy out as a vibration that frankly is running through every cell and fiber of our body. I mean, we walk into a room and people immediately feel our energy. They feel our vibration. They know how we feel about ourselves. In fact, the vibe that we put out, it's a reflection of our thoughts, our energy, how we perceive ourselves. You know, we can see somebody walk into a room and you know whether they're confident, you know whether they're happy. You can talk to somebody about their life and it's immediately apparent whether they're happy with their life, whether they're content, or whether they feel disappointed or regretful or, guilty about things they've done in the past. So my whole point is that I believe that we're all teachers. We're all students. We're all in this space where we're constantly evolving, learning, shifting, building, creating. And once we get into a space where we're at least conscious of what we're doing, conscious of what we're creating, conscious of our power, then we start to be able to create more of what we want. And that's really the work. So when we take the time to evaluate where we are in life right now, we get to the space where we're kind of forced to consider how everything that came before us has now contributed to who we are and where we are today. So, think about that on a big scale. Every single thing that has happened before this very moment has contributed to the fact that we're here in this moment, that this moment is giving us access to something more, that it's not just right now, this breath, it's really everything that happened before this moment that's contributed to who we are and where we are today. So obviously, if everything before us contributed to where we are now, everything we do right now is preparing us for where we're going to wind up, how we're going to feel in the next moment, what we're going to do. So if there's an aspect of life that we don't feel is serving our highest good right now, if something exists that doesn't make us exceptionally happy, because we should all be exceptionally happy. I mean, to the point where we're so happy, it seems absurd to not be happy. That if there's something we can identify that is not making us happy now, that we have the ability to trace the origin of that circumstance, to see what it was that was causing us stress or making us feel less than happy. And if we think back to how that started, like what decisions did we make to create a space where we're not happy right now? What things happened in our space and what was our response to those things? And how did our response create the energy and reality that we're faced with right now? And if we're not happy in that reality, well, certainly we have the option and opportunity to change that, because if what we did got us to where we are, then what we're doing is going to get us to where we're going to be. So this is just the logic of wondering how much we have the ability to create for ourselves, that the possibilities are infinite because we've created what exists now. We're creating what will exist. And the magic, I think, in all of it is that we're creating everything in this space, and that gives us the opportunity to improve on what we're creating. That once we look back at where our decisions, our perception, our awareness of things have contributed to what we're creating now, then we're able to check in and tune in with a more focused awareness on the importance of what we're doing right now. So we reevaluate how we move forward in life to improve the level of happiness in the circumstances that might not be serving our highest good right now. That maybe the circumstance in and of itself is not going to drastically change right now, but our perception of it, our ability to move past it and move through it and grow from it and build from it, that's what we're working on. Because let's be honest, we're all working on ourselves, right? I mean, every single thing we're doing is in the idea and the vision and the work of improving ourselves. Yeah? I mean, what possible thing are you doing right now that is not theoretically, on some level, leading to your evolution and improving your life? And why else would you be doing something if not in the interest of improving life? And we all see people who are doing things that are in detriment to their life, their happiness, their relationships, that are things that are going against what they really want. Whether it's rolling down the window and cursing at somebody on the street, you know that's not what that person wants. We don't want to be in our relationships and have a volatile exchange. We don't want to be in a space where we're creating negative energy, or the source of it, certainly. And we don't want to be surrounded by it. So if there's something that we can do right now in order to shift and change that, then certainly we better just grab the reins and do it and change the course and direction, turn the wheel, step on the brake, whatever kind of, vision you need to realize that we're in the driver's seat and we're controlling the course and direction of where our life goes. And if we're all working on ourselves, the work certainly ought to be to improve, to evolve, to get better, to feel better. Because when we look back on life, we want to make sure that, we're in a space where everything we want is our reality. So once we admit that we're all a work in progress, because I have not met anyone who thought that they had this whole life thing down packed. I've never met someone who could not identify at least one area of their life that they didn't feel needed improvement, whether it's physically, spiritually, emotionally, nutritionally, or financially. There's one area of life somewhere, if not multiple areas, where we want to improve. Maybe we want to, be more responsible about the things that we're eating, doing, speaking, feeling. Maybe we'd like to be more responsible with our management of money, resources. Maybe we want to be in a space where we're more balanced in our emotional response to things. So we don't just fly off the handle in anger. We don't fall into depression. We don't perceive things working against us. Maybe we'd like to communicate better in our relationships. Maybe we'd like to run a marathon or wake up in the morning without pain. Get into a space where the body is working with us, where we're physically in optimal health, spiritually feeling like we're secure, stable, emotionally feeling like we're connected and not completely consumed with our emotional state, that we're more allowing our emotions to be the moments where we celebrate our life and our experiences. So just thinking about the areas of life that you might want to improve, the areas of life that I might want to improve, and then understanding that, when we really look at it, we're all a work in progress. We are all working on something. So that also helps us to meet people who are obviously working and who might be struggling in the work, to be able to meet them in a space where we're able to support them a little more and offer some encouragement, knowing that there was somewhere along that road where we were. We were the student. We had to learn the lessons to apply at least a shift in our action that created a different result. And if we see somebody who's not yet at that space, who's still working to figure out the lesson, we got to step back and have a little empathy for them, to realize that, even in their space of being a student, they're also teaching us to be patient, to be more understanding, to be more aware that, everybody's on a different path. Everybody's in a different stage. Everybody's in a different space right now. And we're all just working to improve and get better. And so we try to be kind to each other and kind to ourselves, because isn't our work in this life to improve? Isn't that exactly what we're here to do? To walk through our life knowing that simultaneously we're a student and a teacher, to be humble enough to sit back and learn, to observe, to listen, and then also to be confident enough to be the example of the lessons we've learned, so that we're simultaneously a student who's learning the lessons along the way and a teacher who's living as an example of the lessons we've already learned. And doesn't that kind of take the pressure off a little, make life a little easier, to say that we're constantly in this dance back and forth between student and teacher? And oftentimes the relationship between student and teacher, there's not a whole lot that distinguishes those two roles. That most of our life we're in a space where we're both student and teacher. And that's a beautiful place to be, because that means everything we do is an opportunity to learn. I talk a lot about this universe being our university, and that this is our opportunity to figure out something in this breath and this moment that we didn't already know. So when we consider all the things that have come before us, considering that everything that's happened before right now has given us the opportunity to live this moment, just close your eyes for a minute and imagine the complex network of circumstances and interactions that had to happen, that had to synchronize in order for this very moment to happen. Right now, this moment. So for you to be there, and for me to be here, and for you to at this very moment be listening to me speak, that's profound. Like, what all had to happen for you to be listening to me and me to be speaking, and us having this connection and this relationship and this time and space together that we both independently created for each other. That's the profound thing. That independently we've created a circumstance that both of us are now simultaneously existing in. And that is, just quantum physics. I mean, we're in this space where all of these circumstances had to come together. That the earth needed to exist to allow this moment to happen. That in and of itself, profound. The single-celled organisms had to evolve into everything they evolved into, and the time that went by to allow us to be who we are in this body, in this space. All of that had to happen. That the stars had to align for our parents to meet and connect and create us. So the parents of our parents and the parents of their parents and the parents of their parents all had to have this divine timing and synchronicity to come together for us to be who we are right now. regardless of how you think about birth and death and the cycle, think about all of the things that had to fall into place. Think of all the things you've experienced in your life up until this moment. And that tomorrow you could walk into the grocery store or walk down the street and run into somebody that will drastically change the course and direction of your life. That will come into your space so that you create something else that might live on forever, whether it's an idea or a person or a business or, I mean, whatever it is, the fact that things can align in a way to create a space where we're here in this space together now, that they align in a way where what I'm saying you will take with you, that what you say I will take with me when you send me comments or send in for, notes or participate in any sort of engagement with anyone, that is then changing the course and direction of both of your lives forever. Thinking of things on a bigger scale and understanding that we are walking and living evidence of our ancestors. That to me is profound, that we are walking and living evidence of our ancestors' existence. I mean, think about this, that whatever exists right now in our space had to have so much that came before. And the irony is, this is the beauty of the student-teacher relationship, is that you think about all the generations that have lived full lives, that have passed along their energy, their wisdom, their insight, their knowledge, that all of the things that have never been known before, that our ancestors learned that and then passed it along. So our ancestors learned these things that no one had ever known before. They were the role of the student, learning all these amazing new things, having all these insights and awareness, stepping then into the role of a teacher who shared that information, passed it along to somebody else. And then that now all of that balance between learning and teaching has created the awareness that now we are gifted enough to step into. It's like them passing the baton to us, right? In a relay race. It's like them running half the track, being able to tell us what happened on that leg of the track, letting us be ahead of the game because they passed the baton and we know everything that they know now, and that we then have the opportunity to learn, understand, build on that, and then pass the baton to someone else. The baton is our legacy. It's the energy we're going to leave behind. It's the impact we're going to have on the world. So what baton are we going to pass? What legacy will we leave? What are we going to create for other generations so that our time here in this space of now is so significant that it makes an impact on future spaces? I think that's the big thing, is that we have this ability to plant seeds that are new beginnings, that we have the opportunity to create something brand new right now. I mean, just think about where we've been. Think about who we are now and who we will become. And then how we're going to honor the foundation that our ancestors laid, how we're going to honor this divine synchronicity that the universe has created that allows us to be in the space of now. What are we going to do with it? How are we going to use it? Are we going to spend more time planting seeds of new beginnings or pulling the weeds of the past, dwelling on what was or creating what is? Thinking of all the traumas and heartaches that have happened, all the catastrophe in the world, or creating something that inspires and empowers. There's, the option to be anything, do anything, feel anything. So now we just have to decide what it is we're going to be. Because as one life merges into the next life, as our ancestors' lives merged into the next generation, how that generation has merged into our life, what will our legacy be? What will my legacy be? How will I be remembered? And what do I need to do right now in order to move forward to build the legacy of and the life that I deserve. What do I need to do right now? Well, hopefully I'm doing it, at least in a small part right now. And then the beauty of it is by reflecting on what I'm doing right now, hopefully I can improve on it in the next breath. So I'm the student reflecting on ways to improve so that I can step into the role as teacher to be an example of that improvement. And that's going to constantly be a dance of student and teacher simultaneously moving in rhythm, synchronicity, because I think that's how we're evolving. That's how we figure things out over time. That's how our ancestors have figured it out. That's how they pass this knowledge on to us. And that's why every generation theoretically is at least wholly and completely, when you average things out, sometimes you got to average things out, that we're getting better. We are improving. That certainly there are, depending on what snippet of time, what decade you look at, what news clip you look at, it's questionable how much we're evolving. But I think on the bigger picture overall that we are collectively improving and evolving. When that utopia is going to be, who knows? But I think we all do have the ability to create a little bit of that feeling right now in our relationships, in our personal lives, and everything. So just thinking how our energy right now, where we're choosing to invest our energy in our thoughts, words, and actions, how we use the ability to reflect, to identify areas of lives that we want to improve, and then to step into the role of action to actually make those improvements now. And then to just, even if it's slowly, incorporating things into our space that are helping us improve. So we all reflect on, where we've been, who we are now, what we will become, and just knowing that as one life merges into the next life, that we're leaving a legacy behind, that we're leaving an impact, that our work is to consciously leave the legacy of energy behind that will improve the world as a result of our existence. And that's the true measure of a teacher, that we leave something behind that is improving our existence, that it's improving the generations that come after us. And, maybe you don't want to be a role model. Maybe you don't want people to be like you. Well, I can promise you the people who are watching you will either use your life as an example of what they want to be or an example of what they don't want to be. Either way, you're still a teacher. And I guarantee somewhere along the way, you're still a student. So let's embrace the role of student and teacher, make the effort to show up better in this breath than we did in the last, and to be humble enough and aware enough to learn lessons from the things that worked and the things that didn't work. And then to apply those lessons in a way that allows us to be the walking, living example of the legacy of our ancestors and the energy that we wish for the world from this moment forward. So that's the work, at least today. I know it's a big job, but what other job is worth doing if not the work we do on ourselves? And, I'd like to say that we are going to spend more time with ourselves than we will with anyone else in this life. So let's make sure we're working on ourselves in a way that's going to leave a new and improved version of ourselves as our legacy, and that we have the option and ability to inspire that in others. So let your life, let what we create as a community be the example of the energy we want to see. And that only can happen when we embrace both the roles of student and teacher. Thanks so much for sharing this time with me and just acknowledging the divine synchronicity of events that had to come together to allow us to be in this space. And that in and of itself, I just feel like is so profound that it can motivate it and inspire and empower us to do more with this moment and the next moment. That all of the things that had to happen, all the circumstances, all the interactions, the synchronicity of our parents all coming together to create us both individually and collectively in this moment, that there's no coincidence here. That you've worked hard, I've worked hard, we've done the work to get here. Now we got to pick up the baton and then prepare to pass it along as we continue along this journey called life. All right. Enjoy the day. Enjoy your time. Blessings and blessings and blessings. This has been a good one. Feel free to share it, replay it, because reflection is how we really implement our ability to be the student and the teacher. All right. Until next time. Peace, peace.